And continuing our discussion about Unequal in the equality state, Jimmy Simmons, you noted something on our borders that was a clue to something.
Yeah, I noticed that the sign, Wyoming, the equality state, is gone. And I've traveled around from I usually use the south entrance into Wyoming. That sign is gone. And I was wondering, it's been gone a long time, for years, and why that sign actually came down.
I'm sure you have a theory.
I'm sure I have a theory. Well, the name Equality State is, in my opinion, is an oxymoron. I've lived here for over 40 years, and the things that I've seen are not conducive to equality. One of the biggest signs of segregation that Wyoming, the equality state, sports today is an Indian reservation. The biggest sign of degradation, humiliation, segregation, and any other adjective you could attach to that along those lines is represented by that reservation being in the equality state.
And of course, speaking of the reservation, in 2006, you made history, in fact. You had the Shoshone tribe join the NAACP. That,
we did.
I believe, was the first Indian tribe to join the organization?
It was, and that union made worldwide news, and the news went around the world before it was reported right here in Wyoming. And I remember the day I announced it at Winter Park Memorial Church in Casper, Wyoming, North Casper, and just so happened to be an Australian reporter was in the audience, and he pulled me aside after the gathering and asked me about, are you telling me that the Native Americans are joining the NAACP? And I said, yes, sir, I am. It's going to happen. And it did happen. And so they paid a corporate fee of about $5,000 for membership for the entire tribe. I think it was about 6,000. They represent about 6,000 people.
So how significant do you think that is? I mean, it's a first, and it's here.
Historians debate over whether or not the first time anything happened is important. Some people say, well, it's not important that women got to vote in Wyoming first because they would have gotten it somewhere else eventually. But okay, well, then it's not important that Washington was the first president because somebody else would have been. But really, those are pivotal moments in history where you say before that happened, the world was like this, and after it happened, the world was like that. And what began, the NAACP has this long and storied history of pursuing rights under the law for Americans. Primarily, the original function was Black Americans, African Americans, freed slaves. But as
colored peoples is in the title of the organization.
Yes, yeah, and that's grown over the years to include people of other colors.
Well, can I comment on that?
Please do.
All right. The name of the organization is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. There is no color requirement for the NAACP to help you. If you look at the original founders of the NAACP, they don't look like me. They're the majority of, I say 99% of the founding fathers and mothers of the NAACP are white.
Can I give you an example then? Obviously an infamous example here in Wyoming, the Matthew Shepard murder. White, young man. Was the NAACP involved in, any kind of local investigation here in Wyoming on that one?
No. In fact, Matthew's dad spoke at he was the keynote speaker at our Freedom Fund banquet last February. No, we weren't called in on that.
So to relate, you need to be called in.
Well, if they want us to be involved, we'll be involved. I know Judy and Glenn Shepard quite well, and they donate to the NAACP, so they believe in our cause. And like I've said earlier, I've worked on cases with gay and lesbian rights. That was some of my first cases when I first got in with the NAACP. So it's an organization that tries to eliminate discrimination regardless of what color you are.
Well, just to sort of wrap up, because I know you're both running out of time, but you've been here, you've hung in here for more than 4 decades now. Has progress been made? I mean, I know you've worked towards it.
Well, I can't really measure it. If you measure it by, can I get a job here? No, I couldn't get a job here. That's why I'm in Colorado.
Currently?
Currently. When I was struggling trying to get work here, I hear things like, we have to make sure that everything he does fail. You're everything that I don't want to see. And I mean, these things are being said straight out. And it's something that I can't dismiss.
I mean, to your face.
Oh yeah, you can't dismiss that. And it has far-reaching effects when minorities try to come into a place. I've even had people call me and said, I came to Wyoming because it is the equality state. And they're in a distant town thinking that I can get to Wyoming, I can make it.
Well, I mean, other black families who live here, because there are some.
Yeah.
What do they say about staying here as opposed to finding friendlier environment?
Well, this is their home. They don't want to run. I mean, this is my home. I've been here the majority of my life, and if I've been under bomb threats, I've been where I couldn't get police protection and I had to hire my own protection. I'm not the kind of guy to run. I'll stand there and fight you rather than run. I raised my whole family here. I got grandkids here, and this is home, regardless if it's like it is or not. I came out of the South, and I've seen what I'm seeing here in Wyoming, and I know what I have to do too to protect myself and my family and my property. And so I was trained like that, and so running was not part of the training.
Do you think it could even be better in those classic southern states that have had a lot of laws passed and a lot of deliberate effort to turn things around?
My grandfather he was a Baptist minister, once made a statement that the South is going to be the best place for the black man. And now I'm starting to see that, how things have changed. And he made that back in the 50s, made that quote. And I was a little kid, but I can remember.
Do you believe it?
Him saying that. Yeah, I have a brother that lives in the South now, and he's very successful, very successful.
Well, history has a way of being ironic in a way. Todd, I mean, what's your sort of final say on the movement of social climate here over the last half century?
Well, let me step back another 50 years.
Yeah,
when
please,
Wyoming,
as a historian, you're more than welcome
yes,
to.
the farther back we go, the better. When Wyoming achieved statehood in 1890, people thought, you read the newspaper articles and read about the floats that were in the parades in Cheyenne and other places, and they used words like our colored brothers and things like that, and people thought that equality state nickname would apply to everyone. By 1920, nobody believed that anymore. But I think that things have slowly been getting, I mean, it's hard, like you say, it's hard, maybe impossible to measure. And most of the information that we have is anecdotal. But it seems to me that things have slowly been getting better because of the collective strategies of people in Sheridan and Buffalo and Rock Springs and Rawlins and Laramie and Cheyenne. The largest black communities have been along the railroad community, in the railroad communities.
But communications has greatly changed too, and we receive messages through many more sources, whether it be internet.
But alone is still alone. And when you're one black guy sitting in a hotel lobby with a semicircle of a dozen men,
is shaping the morality or the general attitudes. When you see role models of more integrated, more accepting scenarios on television or in movies, that's got to have some kind of effect.
and it is. That's why part of the contributing factor in why things may be getting better here. But it's very incremental progress.
It is. You know,
And there's still a lot of problems.
when I took office in 2001 with the NAACP, I was immediately contacted by a large oil company. We want to call this guy, he would be like a community representative, community relations. Wanted to have breakfast with me, so I went and had breakfast with him, and he talked. And they had run a survey, did a survey of the state of Wyoming as far as race relations, and because they had a diverse workforce, and they didn't want to place that workforce in a place where they couldn't, thrive in. And the conclusion of that report said that Wyoming was incapable of embracing diversity. And so I said, well, why don't you go to the governor and tell him that? Maybe he can get something going. Who was the governor back then? I can't remember. It may have been Sullivan. But I told him to go to the governor and talk to the governor about that. And he said, I can't. That was an internal evaluation of the state of Wyoming. And I said, well, why don't you go to the governor? He said, because we have to do business with them. And they didn't want to take that kind of information to the governor because they have to do business in the state of Wyoming. So they chose not to bring that diverse workforce here.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you. Todd Gunther, Jimmy Simmons.
Thank you.
Thank you.